So tell me, how familiar were you with the original Halloween?
Good question. When it came out in theaters, I was born in 68, so I'm 53 as I sit here. So I missed it in the theaters, but I remember that was at the beginning of sort of cable television. So I saw it in probably 79 or 80. It was either on Cinemax or Showtime. And it had a very tangible effect on me. I remember, I think my parents were out that night and I was watching it. I've always had a crush on Jamie Lee Curtis. I haven't even told her this, but I loved her. And I remember how compelling those shots were, where you're kind of from Michael's POV and he's kind of stalking her through the town and the kids are making their way across the street. And I mean, I really remember that as a visceral feeling that the film gives you. There's that kind of voyeuristic thing. Carpenter's score and direction, incredible. So it left a mark on me as a kid. It did. Yeah.
So then when the opportunity came for you to play Tommy Doyle, I mean, how did that come about?
Well, it was a very fortunate occurrence. At least, basically, I met with David Gordon Green at the end of the summer of 2019 before we made the film. It was at my request before I did my screen test, and we just really hit it off. I was able to meet him at his hotel, and within 5 minutes, he's just such an open, cool guy, very fluid, very easygoing, great personality. And we just talked about his vision for the film. Obviously, the last one we all saw was a massive hit. He did a phenomenal job. So I kind of wanted to just speak to him and get a sense of what his objectives were and how he liked to work and et cetera. And then I did my screen test and I just kind of try to rev myself up and give it my all and make those circumstances real. So I felt very blessed, very privileged and fortunate when I got the part, and super excited because I've never been a part of a franchise, with the exception of The Dark Knight, which I had kind of a small role in. So this is really exciting for me. I've never been in a franchise film that was so hotly anticipated. So I think it's that combination of those things, knowing we made a great film and David and the entire team really delivered, and that there's also this great buildup and anticipation with audiences that are excited to see it. So it's a wonderful combination of things that have come together.
Has being part of a franchise, have you kind of gotten the insanity of it yet, or is that still building?
I think I know what you're alluding to. Well, this last year with the delay, I'm someone that my wife and I are often on YouTube, like a lot of people, looking for inspiration, looking for things to watch. And it's almost like it's replaced the library for people, right? It's like a visual library. So, what I've done is over the last literally year and a half, at least I've been watching all these fan sites, reaction videos, people that had comments or commentary about the test screenings, and just trying to extract as much information from people that had seen the film. So that really plugged me into the whole fan universe and how beloved the franchise is. I really got a clear picture, particularly in this waiting period, of how much this franchise excites people, how much they're looking forward to it. So all of that adds up to it's a great feeling. And again, on the flip side of that is knowing that the movie really has impact and that there's a groundswell of buzz about it is very exciting. Those things coming together make it's an exciting time. I'm really feel very privileged and fortunate for
it. So was that all of the research that you did for the film? Was just watching the YouTube or anything
honestly
else?
I did look at the original film. I've seen a bunch of the others in the interim and that period of time, but I just really kind of dug into it. The script was so solid. I think one of the things that David and Danny and Scott Teams have done beautifully is to kind of thread those characters from the original through 2018. And now the universe expands. And not only do they reintroduce us to all these beloved characters, but they also make room for other characters. And there's a lot of great cameos and supporting roles. So I think it's really an amazing thing that they're able to do. And they do it quite effortlessly, because they've come from comedy into this world and they're doing such a phenomenal job. So I think those two things are the most exciting. Knowing that we have a great film that packs a punch and knowing that there's an audience waiting for it is really a great combination.
Um, in this film, you organize a mob of vigilantes. Do you think that this would be the kind of thing that you would do if there were a real Michael Myers that you would have to hunt down?
You mean me personally?
Yeah.
I have this sort of Italian-Irish background and descent, so I kind of have a fighter's mentality, and I've always kind of applied that to my work, just kind of being in show business this long. So, I kind of liken it to that in a way. it's very interesting and fascinating, I think, for all of us, how the world, strangely, with all these things going on, societal issues and COVID and the pandemic and everything, it kind of, in strange ways, kind of mirrored this world we've now seen for 2 years, right? So that was obviously unintentional and unplanned, but it's really interesting too, though, because I think what's interesting is the movie opens and everybody's at the bar and we're kind of commiserating about having survived all of his violence and the things that Myers has represented to the town. But then everybody makes a very specific turn, I feel, at least, which is ultimately very heroic, not just Tommy, but all the characters, Kyle, her character of Lindsay and Nancy, everybody kind of summons the strength to really combat this evil. And they unify not only as survivors, but as fighters. And that's the kind of mantra that Jamie kicks in when she says that in that scene, we fight now, So I think this kind of classic theme of good versus evil, Strode and Myers once again, but now the inclusion of the town, really summoning something deep within themselves to take him on, makes it very special. Also, it gives us a very specific momentum that charges the movie, and gives it a lot of energy as it opens.
What do you think is the lasting allure of Michael Myers? Why has he remained so popular for the last 40 years?
It's a great question. I was doing my homework and watching a bunch of interviews that Jamie Lee and David had done, and David said something really interesting about it. There's actually a very limited mythology of Myers when you think about it. We don't really know what makes him tick, but it's that idea of storytelling is as old as the world. And I think the idea of good versus evil, once again, this character that's a stalker, he's a predator, he's the boogeyman. I think that there are some kind of classical things about this kind of evil character. But at the same time, people love it, just like they love Laurie, and Jamie Lee's character. So I think it's a fascinating thing that he kind of embodies and personifies human evil. And at the same time, he's something otherworldly as well, because he represents that kind of darkness in the world. So I love those kind of stakes. When I was a part of the Dark Knight or other projects, I love that kind of classic good versus evil approach in the storytelling. So for me, that gave me all I needed to really hit the ground running and to to be a fighter as Tommy and to play that heroism, which, as I said, I really feel like it's there for all of us. All the townspeople really summon that heroic intent to really combat him and go against him. It makes it interesting. Yeah.